What's going on, everyone? So Anna Camp is going to be portraying a role in the upcoming Scream 7. She is expected to be Sidney's neighbor and one of her friends, not her best friend. And we'll see kind of the role that she plays. There's a lot of kind of questions in regards to her as a character, right? Is she going to be Ghostface? Is she going to be kind of just a red herring? Is she going to be, a survivor? Is she somebody that's going to meet their end? A lot of characters in this upcoming Scream 7, a lot of different possibilities for a lot of different characters. We know Scream 8 is greenlit, so it kind of, makes you think, like, how many characters are going to survive that'll carry over into Scream 8, right? So Anna Camp, if she's a character that, is beloved, then you could see maybe them kind of being like, okay, let's keep her, maybe one or both of the Meeks twins, Gail and Sidney, her daughter, her, Sidney's husband, whatever. Keep like a handful of characters, say, 8, 9 characters. And we're all like, man, they, have a lot of characters surviving, but there's like 20 characters in this film. So you could still kill off a lot and still, you could have one of the higher kill counts in this, in this upcoming film. Still have a bunch of characters survive and carry over into Scream 8, especially if it's one kind of continued story. But when it comes to Anna Camp, there are kind of just, again, rumors coming out. Now, everything's rumor until it's actually confirmed. And it's not anything crazy. It's just that she kind of feels like a fan favorite. Like she is a character that many fans are going to connect with and really enjoy, right? And, she is an actress that I can absolutely see. I can see the potential if the character is done correctly, if the character is presented in a way as such that, fans will get behind. We've seen with characters all throughout the Scream franchise, right? From Randy and Stu. I mean, people still want Stu to come back to, you look at Kirby and they brought Kirby back, right? So to establish and create another character that fans kind of fall in love with and are like, yeah, like I want to see this character stick around. I hope she survives. You can go one of two ways with that, right? You could have her die and people kind of just feel that heartbreak of losing a character that you love, or you could have her, survive and carry over into several films. My only thing about like having her survive into several films is like, how many characters can we keep survive? Like at some point, it is a horror, right? Like characters have to die. I'm not saying every character has to die. I'm not saying you can't have Anna Camp's character carry over, like I said, into like a Scream 8 or something, but she's all set 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like it's like, and then you have Gail and Sidney and the Meeks twins. It's just like you have the same 12 characters, just basically hanging around every Scream movie. It's like at some point you got to start killing some characters off. Her relationship with Sidney Prescott, I think could potentially sway certain directions, right? Like, does Sidney, if Ghostface starts to does she kind of, take a step back from Anna's character, right? Does she kind of look at it and go like, I can't trust anybody. I don't know anybody, right? I don't want to run the risk of, trusting and put my faith into her and then something ends up like, there's a lot of things that you could kind of, have their relationship, right? Do you have kind of this Derek thing where she's kind of the one that's cut off? Anna's trying to kind of like, no, I'm like your friend, like I'm here, I want to help you, like, I was attacked type thing too, but Sidney just having the experience of like, I don't know, like I've seen fake attacks, I've seen people fake die, like I've seen all of these things that I don't know if, I know she supposedly moved in, her son's supposed to be a little like creepy. Like there could be a lot of factors to play into this. I hope personally she is just a red herring. I do. I hope it's not something where she's Ghostface, something like, can we, like, how many people, like, at some point you're just like, Sidney is a terrible judge of character. At some point you're like, dude, Sidney needs to just like isolate herself again and just stay away from people because she cannot pick apart Ghostface from people, right? Like she needs to stop letting people in her life because it's just like, how many, like I've talked about brothers, cousins, nephews, uncles, how many friends in her life, how many people just want her dead? I am totally okay if she's a red herring. She moves into town a couple months prior. They built up a friendship because they're neighbors. And then all of a sudden Ghostface starts to happen. And she's kind of, Sidney's a little suspicious of the neighbor. type thing, right? Like, her son's a little weird. He seems like he fits the MO of what Ghostface could be, whatever, or something where maybe it's her son, but she doesn't know. She has no involvement, right? Like, that could be an interesting dynamic. Imagine if Anna has to be put in a position to where, I either have to spare my son and live with knowing what he's doing, or protect my friend and do what's right. Right? Like, that could be an interesting dynamic that we could see in the Scream movie that I think could really kind of, add and pull on the heartstrings a little bit. Like, as a parent, like, how tough it would be to be in that situation. Yes, you clearly know what the right choice is. You clearly know what you should do, but it's like, that's your kid. It's like, do I try to, like, just let this go through and then get them out, like, or do I take out my kid to save her? Like, it's a tough position to be in that I think could, put all of us in the audience in an interesting path of, like, how is this going to play out? But again, I really hope Ghostface is a little more creative, right? Like, I get, and I've talked about, right? Like, you don't need crazy MOs and explanations for why Ghostface is after Sidney. She's the white whale. Every person that ever puts on a Ghostface costume wants to take out Sidney. But, like, again, if it's one of her friends, then now you got to have an explanation. It's like, I became your friend to do X, Y, and Z. It's just, I'd rather you go a more creative route. I'd rather you explore different options and possibilities. I'd rather you be in a different space than what we're accustomed to, right? I want a little more creativity. I want a little, I want little differences in this upcoming Scream film. Again, I'm all for you, kind of leading us down the path of, like, oh yeah, it's her, and then ultimately it's not her. There's a lot of people that think she's going to be Leslie Mocker and that she could potentially be Ghostface, right? And that could be an interesting route, have her be Leslie Mocker. She, becomes friends with Sidney. But the problem is, like, it's the Debbie Salt thing, right? Like, where Debbie had to, or Mrs. Loomis had to avoid Sidney because Sidney would have recognized her, right? Sidney recognized her immediately, right? Like, so you're telling me that Sidney wouldn't recognize Leslie Mocker, like, even if, say she was already moved out and an adult at the time, like, she still would have grown up with her. And that makes it even more unlikely. Like, it's one thing if she was a kid that grew up, because it's like, some people just change significantly from, being a child to being a grown adult. It's another thing when you're already grown, and, like, I've seen you a bunch of times, and I've been over to your house, and I've broke bread with your family and stuff like that. Now I reckon, like, it's just, again, I don't think that makes a ton of sense. Or, even if she was a child, like, I would rather them kind of keep it more simple, personally. Obviously, good storytelling, good execution, good delivery can go a long way. But for me personally, I hope that she's not, unless they do some kind of, a little more creativity. But anyways, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you excited for her in the upcoming Scream 7? What do you think? Do you think she'll be Ghostface? Do you think she'll be somebody else? Do you want her to be Ghostface? Do you not want her? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. Either way, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel. What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.